Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is another diamond paint with me as I try to finish this diamond painting. I only have one square left. So after yesterday's video, and once I got home from mom's, I did diamond paint for a good bit and finished that square. So one final square, and there's a lot of black in this square. So very excited to get this one done, find a frame for it because I have had that easel empty for months. And next I'm going to be working on Treasure Studios Art Maleficent. So very excited to just work on something different. And some of you commented and were like, we're going to miss this one. I know, it's like parting ways with a friend or something, right? Because I've worked on this one for so long. But yeah, it is time to get to something different. So, went to mom's yesterday, did the video with Charlize. And I knew it was going to be short. There really isn't very much to say. You try the nuggets and they were hot. Charlize, I think, has a good tolerance for stuff like that. And her friend was there. I talked to her like she was behind the camera. My mom was there too. They didn't want to be on camera. So, but yeah, it was hot. It's not something I would get again. My favorite thing from Burger King is their Impossible Whopper. And I also like their jalapeno cheddar bites. They're really good, surprisingly. But their milkshakes really take the cake. Like, they are my absolute favorite thing. And their milkshake machine was down. So I was like, dude. And someone commented and said, didn't the water make it more spicy? I don't know. I didn't think so. I needed something to drink with it. But yeah, my point was I was trying to get us milkshakes because you're supposed to drink dairy or milk or eat ice cream or something to tamper down the fiery hot. I've had hotter things though. After we stopped filming the video, Charlize had these Takis. Oh my God, there's no way I could eat those things. I ate one and I was like, dude, no. So I came home. I got home from there about 1:30. And it didn't take long to get the video up because it was only like a 4-minute video. That took no time at all. And then I filmed my cross stitch segment. And I have all of the pip and chip bobbins in the foam inserts in my DMC cabinet. And so very thankful for that. And I decided yesterday to pull out my Carolyn Manning Phoenix piece. And I think I'm just going to work on that again for a while. And I actually pulled all of the DMC from the new bobbins for it. So I'm going to be using that. And I did a little bit of stitching on it last night. And I had actually put it in a hoop and put it in my my Dubco stitching stand. And it worked pretty well. So if you watch my cross-stitch vlog, which will go up on Saturday, you'll see the progress on that. And I'll talk more about that, how I stitched in bed with the Dubco stand. And then Bill and I had dinner, panko chicken breast tender things, and some French fries. And we watched the first episode of The Bachelorette, the new season. It's okay. Those shows are almost so predictable, though. So we watched that, and we went to bed kind of early. I had only had about 4 hours of sleep yesterday because I went to bed almost 3 in the morning and got up at like 7 or 7:30. And 7:45, I was falling asleep. So he went upstairs. I tucked him in. I came down and I actually watched... When I was diamond painting yesterday, I started watching that new series on Hulu called Dope Sick. Oh my God, it's about OxyContin. Oh man, it gives you a new perspective on that drug. And it stars Michael Keaton, which I love him. And he's a doctor in a small mining town, and it's good. Now, I'm guessing they're only releasing one episode a week because I'm already on episode 3 and there's only one more. So I think after that, I'm going to try to start watching the new season of The Sinner with Bill Pullman. Yeah, Bill Pullman. Fantastic show. They have had, I want to say this is the 4th season of it. It's so good. The show is so good. Each season is a standalone season, meaning the story is wrapped up by the end. So good. Yeah. But yeah, so I watched some more of Dope Sick last night while I was working on my Phoenix piece. And I talked in my cross stitch vlog yesterday about just wanting something easy. And I know I've just been flitting from project to project, and I like stitching on the perforated paper, but I just sort of lost interest in that piece, believe it or not, that I did. I only have the bottom border to do. But I really want to work on this Carolyn Manning Designs piece again, because it is somewhat easy, where the symbols are very easy to read on the chart, and it's just like filling in a puzzle. So I'm really going to go as long as I want to on that piece. And I hope I don't lose interest in it, because I would love to get it done and do another one. I have so many. I literally have almost every single one of her patterns, and they're just gorgeous. And that will be worthy of definitely getting framed, only because it's like a 9-page pattern. So it's going to take me a while. But it's about the journey, right? Of stitching and enjoying it, and colors, and completing something. And with that piece, doing the Carolyn Manning Designs, when it's a solid stitching like that, you don't do a ton of counting. It's very easy on the brain. Okay. So today's story. Now I'm off work today. Today is Friday, October 22nd. I'm off work today, and I'm so glad it's the weekend. Bill and I are going to do Mexican for dinner tonight. There's a Mexican place in our area that we really like, so we're going to go there, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, he woke me up this morning. I was in bed by 9:30 sleeping last night, and I knew that I would be, yeah. So, and I didn't have to make his lunch this morning because he buys lunch on Friday. So he woke me up just to say goodbye, and then I went back to sleep, and then he was calling me at 8 o'clock and woke me up. But his sister is doing a teensy bit better. They are going to try to do a tracheostomy on her because, they don't want to keep someone on a ventilator very long. They'll put the breathing tube in there that way. So she had a chest x-ray, and there was a little bit of improvement on that. So that's good. But, her recovery is going to be weeks or months. There's still a long road for her. And I told Bill, Sunday will be 2 weeks she's been in the hospital. When you don't walk or move your muscles for 2 weeks, they start to atrophy. I mean, it makes sense. So she's going to have to go to rehab and have physical therapy. There's no doubt. But at least she's still fighting. She's still alive. So thank you all very much for your thoughts and prayers and all of that good stuff. So I'm just hopeful that she pulls out of it and can get back home to her family. So, okay, today's story is James Huberty. So this guy was a mass murderer, and it occurred on July 18th, 1984 in San Ysidro, California. And he killed 21 people. Yeah. So those who knew him called him weird, odd, short-tempered, a man on the edge, a fuse ready to blow. Few, however, could have imagined the carnage that James Huberty would unleash at a McDonald's restaurant on a muggy San Ysidro afternoon in July of 1984. James Huberty was born on October 11th, 1942 in Canton, Ohio. As a boy, He contracted polio, a disease that caused him to suffer spastic paralysis and numbness throughout his body. Neither was that the only childhood setback he endured. When James was just 7, his mother, Isel, abandoned the family to become a street missionary, something that affected him deeply and caused him to act out aggressively on numerous occasions. His father, Earl, did his best to hold the Huberty clan together, but James became increasingly withdrawn. The only thing that seemed to interest him was the .22 rifle gifted to him by his father. He was frequently in trouble for shooting up cabbages in a neighbor's field. Okay. Whatever demons plagued James Huberty's formative years, he appeared to have outrun them by the time he reached adulthood. After graduating high school, he enrolled at Malone College, a small humanities school in Ohio, where he obtained a degree in sociology. Afterwards, he studied to become a licensed embalmer at the Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science in Pennsylvania, and it was in Pittsburgh that he met his future wife, Etna. Huberty did not last long in the funeral business, mainly because he lacked the interpersonal skills required to succeed in the profession. You know, you have to have a certain demeanor about yourself, I feel like, to work in that around people who have lost a loved one. I remember, both of my grandparents and even my aunt were both all cremated at the same funeral home in our area, and we dealt with the same woman in all 3 cases, and she was fantastic. There are just some people that are just, suited to that kind of thing. Obviously, this guy was not. So he moved back to Canton, found a job as a welder at the Babcock and Wilcox utility plant, something that was more suited to his personality. Co-workers from that time recalled that he never spoke much unless the discussion turned to guns. Then Huberty would hog the conversation, trotting out all kinds of ballistic information, including what various calibers could do to the human body. Lord, that would be concerning, right? In 1965, James Huberty married his sweetheart Etna at the Trinity Gospel Temple in Canton. Over the next few years, he would father 2 daughters, Zelia and Cassandra. In 1971, the family moved to a large red brick house in Massillon, Ohio, about 10 miles west of Canton. They also bought an investment property, a 6-unit apartment building. Things were most definitely looking up. But the picture of Huberty as the devoted husband and family man contrasted starkly with how his neighbors saw him. Intensely private, he constructed a high fence around his property and posted several no trespassing signs. He also kept a number of large dogs, described by neighbors as attack dogs. He barely passed the time of day with his neighbors, but was ever vigilant for transgressions on their part and always ready to confront anyone who overstepped his bounds. There were a number of heated exchanges over pets. Good God. On one occasion, Huberty even tried to shoot a stray dog that had defecated on the sidewalk outside his house. Only the intervention of a neighbor saved the animal's life. Oh boy. That reminds me. So, when we had to get Layla put to sleep a couple years ago, she always liked butterflies. Whenever we would sit outside, because we sat outside with her a lot, she would always playfully chase butterflies if they came around her, and some would even land on her, right? So the week after we had to get her put to sleep, whenever I walked out front, I saw butterflies. And I'm not talking just one, a bunch. And I thought it was so bizarre, right? But I told Bill, I said, maybe Layla's spirit was reincarnated as a butterfly. And then after that week, I didn't really see them very much. But here and there, I still see them. So yesterday when I walked out to bring the bins back in, because yesterday was our trash day and recycling day, this bright blue butterfly that was actually pretty large flew right by me as I was walking out the door. And I was like, "Hi, Layla. How you doing, honey?" Oh, I miss her. I miss her, and I miss our other dog, Mojo. I don't know if we'll ever get another dog again. We might, though, down the road, maybe. But I know some people don't believe in that kind of stuff, but it just gives me comfort, I guess, on that level. Just, I hadn't seen a butterfly. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw one. So, yeah, it was nice. I was like, hi, Layla, how you doing, honey? Yeah. And then I told Bill, and he was like, yeah. Okay. So aside from the constant bickering with the neighbors, Huberty and his family enjoyed a relatively happy decade in Massillon. But all of that was to change when hard times hit the region in the early 80s. Eventually, the Babcock and Wilcox plant was forced into closure and Huberty lost his job. 5 months later, he found new employment and lost that too. Then he tried to sell his apartment building to raise money and was defrauded by the real estate agent. Oh boy. All of this left him bitter and angry and disillusioned. On one occasion, he threatened to shoot himself and Etna had to wrestle the gun from his hand. At around this time, Huberty's aggression towards other people started to escalate. He began talking openly about shooting people and was drawn into a number of altercations, one of which resulted in his arrest for disorderly conduct. Then he was involved in an auto wreck, which left him in constant pain and with a tremor in one hand. That had to have been very difficult. And constant chronic pain can really drive you to just be a different person than you normally are. Soon his wife and children began to suffer the brunt of his ill-tempered wrath as well. One witness recalled seeing Huberty threaten Etna with a gun. In the autumn of 1983, Huberty suddenly uprooted his family and moved to California. And the move was ill-prepared. Huberty had still not resolved the outstanding issues surrounding his properties and had not arranged accommodation out west. How do you just pick up and go, though, without arranging where you're going to stay? As a result, the family lived a shiftless life for the next 10 months, staying in several small towns along the Mexican border, and eventually they settled in San Ysidro. But if Huberty thought that the cross-country move would somehow resolve all his problems, he was wrong. He grew ever more frustrated, ever more angry. He began talking endlessly about the coming apocalypse, and he became obsessed with survivalist ideals. The only thing that seemed to give him pleasure was to unpack the extensive weapons cache he had assembled over the years and spend the hours cleaning his guns. His bizarre actions manifested in other ways too. One day he walked up to a parked police car in San Ysidro, insisted that he was a war criminal, and demanded to be arrested. What? The police questioned him and then let him go. In June of 1984, Huberty found work as a security guard and was able to move his family to a better neighborhood in San Ysidro. But the move proved ill-advised. Within days of starting his new job, Huberty was fired due to his bad attitude, and for him it was the last straw. James Huberty, who had spoken so often about the apocalypse to come, had finally reached the end of his tether, and he was about to unleash an apocalypse of his own. Oh boy. On Tuesday, July 17th, Huberty told his wife that he had tried to make an appointment at a local mental health clinic. He said that the clinic had promised to call him back but had failed to do so. When Etna suggested that he phone again, Huberty became angry and left on his motorcycle. The following day, Wednesday, July 18th, the Hubertys drove up to San Diego, where James was due to appear in traffic court over a disputed ticket. Afterwards, Huberty treated his family to lunch at McDonald's, and then he and Etna took the kids to the San Diego Zoo. As they were driving home, he made a cryptic comment to Etna, one that appears chilling in retrospect. He said, "Society had their chance." Ugh. At around 3:45 on the afternoon of July 18th, James Huberty left his apartment in San Ysidro. He was wearing camouflage pants and a black t-shirt and lugging a tote bag. When Etna asked where he was going, he said that he was going hunting humans. It was just the sort of oddball comment she was used to hearing from her husband, and Etna thought nothing of it. Really? Outside, Huberty dropped his bag on the passenger seat of his battered old Mercury Marquis and started the car. His destination, just a block away on San Ysidro Boulevard, was the local McDonald's outlet. He pulled into the restaurant parking lot just before 4. By the time Huberty flipped open the door of the Mercury and stepped onto the blacktop, he looked more like a special forces soldier than an out-of-work, middle-aged security guard. Do you guys remember that movie? Oh, it had Michael Douglas in it. And he lost his job and his family all in one day or something. And he just had it. I forget what the movie is called. I'm sure somebody will put it in the comments. You actually felt sorry for him, but he went on a rampage. He was a nut in that movie. So an Uzi semi-automatic was slung over one shoulder. A canvas tote bag full of ammunition adorned the other, and into his belt was shoved a 9mm Browning pistol with a 14-shot clip. A 12-gauge Winchester pump-action shotgun was held loosely in his hands. 16-year-old McDonald's employee John Arnold was standing at the service counter when he found himself looking straight down the barrel of a shotgun held by a balding man. Arnold barely had time to respond when the man pulled the trigger. It clicked down on an empty chamber. Thinking it was some kind of a sick joke, Arnold walked away, shaking his head in disgust. People in that restaurant would have been terrified. Meanwhile, some of the customers in the restaurant had noticed Huberty standing by the counter tinkering with the shotgun. Some wisely chose to leave immediately, but others ignored him, taking him for a harmless crank, or perhaps someone on their way to a fancy dress party dressed as Rambo. They were soon disabused of that notion when Huberty shouted out, "I'm going to kill you all," and then started firing. But how is that going to solve his problems? It's not, but obviously he's not in his right mind. John Arnold, who had earlier had such a narrow escape, was nicked by shotgun pellets from the first blast. Then people started screaming, throwing themselves to the floor, rushing for the exit. A plate glass window shattered as Arnold dived for cover under a seat. Griselda Diaz, a customer, did the same thing, then dragged her young son across the floor to a side exit. They managed to escape, but others were not so lucky. As Huberty kept firing, emptying one weapon, switching to another, reloading, the first emergency call reached the police. That call came from within the restaurant, but others soon followed, made by people in the vicinity who had heard the shots. Can you even imagine? Meanwhile, several of the kitchen staff had managed to run to a downstairs cloakroom to hide. They were joined shortly by other employees and a few customers. This small group huddled together, listened to the ceaseless cacophony of shots from upstairs, and praying that the assassin would not find their hiding place. Upstairs, Huberty continued his deadly spree. Manager Neva Kane was executed by a shot to the head. Then Huberty rooted out 4 other employees from their hiding place. He opened fire, killing 2 girls instantly. A third tried to crawl away but was cut down by a shotgun blast to the back of the head. And the 4th member of the group, Albert Leos, was shot 4 times but miraculously survived. Wow. Huberty now turned his attention to other targets. 3 youngsters, Joshua Coleman, David Flores, and Omar Hernandez, were pushing their bicycles along the pavement in front of the building when he opened fire. Flores and Hernandez were killed instantly. Coleman only survived because he had the presence of mind to play dead. By the time the first police car arrived on the scene at 4:07, 18-year-old Jackie Wright Reyes and her 8-month-old son Carlos were dead, as were elderly couple Aida Velasquez Victoria, 69, and Miguel Victoria Ula, 74. Huberty turned his attention on the police cruiser, shattering its windscreen and emergency lights with a barrage of gunfire. Cowering behind their vehicle, the officers placed a call and requested a SWAT team. Yeah, no shit. They're going to have to kill him to have him stop. So inside, the McDonald's now resembled a slaughterhouse. Blood-spattered bodies lay everywhere while the wounded writhed and moaned in agony. Or writhed. Some people played dead, others cowered under tables and prayed that the gunman wouldn't find them. Many were beyond prayers. Victoria Rivera, a maintenance man, had brought his wife and 4-year-old daughter to McDonald's for a treat. Ugh. Now Victor was dead, his wife and daughter seriously injured. Ron and Blythe Herrera had stopped off with their 11-year-old son for a quick bite. Only Ron would survive the excursion, albeit with 7 gunshot wounds. Lawrence Versluis, a 62-year-old truck driver, was taking his coffee break when he was shot dead. He had been due to retire at the end of the week. Jesus! Oh my God. With the toll now at 21 dead and 19 injured, the police finally managed to establish a perimeter, shutting down blocks of San Ysidro Boulevard and a stretch of Interstate 5. By 4:55 p.m., the SWAT team was in position with snipers on the roof of a post office to the south of the restaurant. However, the restaurant's tinted windows, many of them now marred by dense spider webs of cracks, made it impossible for the sniper to get eyes on the assassin. So, with no way to assess the situation inside the restaurant, the SWAT team was ordered to wait. No shots were to be fired unless the gunman tried to escape. Huberty had by now redirected his fire. He was no longer shooting at customers inside the restaurant. He was targeting the police officers outside. Inadvertently, though, he was exposing his position. As he continued firing, pieces of glass began falling away from the windows, giving the sharpshooters a target to aim at. At 5:13 p.m., SWAT Commander Jay Sanders gave the order. Any sniper with a clear shot was to take it. SWAT sniper Charles Foster was positioned on the roof of the post office with his Remington .308 caliber sniper rifle. At 5:17, 4 minutes after receiving the green light, Foster got a clear visual on Huberty. He drew in a breath, held it, and then gently applied pressure on the trigger. A single shot was fired, crashing into Huberty's chest and ripping through his body before shattering his spine. He was probably dead even before he realized he had been shot. The McDonald's massacre was at the time the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. In its aftermath, McDonald's tore down the restaurant and donated the land to the city of San Ysidro. They in turn built an education center on the site. That was actually a really good thing that they did, that McDonald's did for that. A memorial consisting of 21 hexagonal granite pillars commemorates the casualties of James Huberty's deadly spree. 19 more victims survived their wounds but must forever endure the physical and mental scars of that terrible day. And you know, I can't even imagine living through that, right? I can't. I mean, just how horrific and just, wow. Those people will probably never be the same after that. I don't know how you deal with something like that. But yeah, Bill called me this morning and told me that Alec Baldwin was on the set of a movie. He was filming a Western movie, and a prop gun, or, you know, a gun which I'm guessing should have included blanks, actually had real bullets in it, and he wound up killing a crew member. So you know there's going to be more to come out about that. And also, Bill said that the remains that they had found in that forest or whatever were of the guy, Gabby Petito's boyfriend. That was, you know, they had a warrant out for him and everything. So that family will never know what really happened to her. But I guess, do you really want to know? That's what I told Bill when he called me this morning. I said, you know, I read all these true crime stories, and these people, you know, you hear that your daughter was raped and strangled and whatever, and you'll never get that out of your head, that they died a horrific, painful death. But yeah, wow. Okay, so today's daily Stoic reading was definitely fitting for me because I've had many haters on this channel, as I think all YouTube channels do, honestly. So the title is, There Have Always Been Haters and Always Will Be. So it says, given how terrible most of the Roman emperors were, you might think that Marcus Aurelius was universally loved. Of course, this is not true. Plenty of people hated him. Plenty of people thought they should be in charge and not him. In fact, one of his best friends portrayed him in a terrible coup. Even now, centuries later, he's overlooked or even outright criticized, as a recent interview with historian Mary Beard illustrates. But did this get to Marcus Aurelius? Would it get to him today if he was around to see what people thought of him? Absolutely not. In fact, in Meditations, a book that Marcus Aurelius wrote, he writes that the reality of leadership is one in which you earn a bad reputation by good deeds. Maybe that's where the saying came, no good deed goes unpunished. So no matter who you are or what you do, you'll have haters. If you don't want any, then best not try anything, do anything, or be anything worth talking about. There are always going to be people who dislike you, who criticize you, who attack you. For the most part, these reasons will have nothing to do with you and everything to do with those leveling the attacks. Absolutely. Unfortunately, many people waste their time stressing about, fighting against, and trying to change these opinions, which, as always, remain firmly outside our control, and we have to resist that impulse. We have to be like Marcus Aurelius. We have to focus on what we control. We have to do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. It's very fitting when I receive a horrible negative comment or just not everyone's going to like you. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I know this. It is hard to not have your feelings hurt or to feel attacked. But I like that is we have to resist that impulse, that we have to focus on what we can control in our own lives. And we don't have any control over anyone else. Absolutely not. Okay, guys, I hope you all have a fantastic Friday. I will be back on Monday with another true crime story. If you like cross stitch, you can, my cross stitch vlog will be up tomorrow on Saturday. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.